good morning. Happy Wednesday. How are we all doing? For those who don't know me, my name is Lindsey Hall, and I'm an intimacy and empowerment coach, and I do these tea break chats every Wednesday, usually in the afternoon, but I've switched it to the morning this week, where I come on and talk about what's been going on in life, like what I've been celebrating or what I've been struggling with or what I've been learning this past week, and then I answer some questions from you guys. And I do this, like I said, every week, and it's just a really great chance to get to talk about what's going on. So, with that said, hi. Okay, so I'm just gonna dive right in, and as per usual, I haven't given it a ton of thought, so I'm just gonna talk about whatever comes up. Because I do these fairly off the cuff. But this week, so if you guys have been following my stories and following what's been going on, you probably can guess the thing I'm going to talk about this week, which is my blowjob class. And I know I talked about it last week as well a little bit, but I can't remember what I said about it last week, first of all, but also so much has come from this. Like, I knew that it was going to be a big growth thing for me. I knew that it was evidence of how much I'd grown up until this point, and I knew it was going to be a new growth for me as well. But I think I underestimated just how much growth would come from it, and it's been amazing. And I mean that for me and for the women who have been joining. But I did this class. So if you haven't followed my stories or didn't see last week's and you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me fill in the gaps. So last week I announced that I was going to be teaching a class on giving blowjobs, and that it was going to be all about how to make it pleasurable both for your partner, but for you as well. Because it shouldn't just be about them. Like, this is, and it came from a place of, I am really good at them, I love giving them, I think it's fun, and I wanted to share this with other women, particularly because yesterday it was steak and blowjob day, so that was kind of the, time trigger for it. But obviously, blowjobs are not just for steak and blowjob day. There could be, they're a year-round gift. But so that's where it kind of came from. So I announced this on my stories last week, and it was only on my Instagram stories because sharing it any wider than that felt way too scary. My Facebook is full of my, old friends, high school friends, college, and my whole family is on there, and Facebook just felt like too much. And I didn't even want to put it on my Instagram grid because, it stays there. I mean, obviously you can delete the post, but it's there for people to see, as opposed to stories, which, are kind of a behind the scenes thing. They come and go. And that felt like kind of the safest place for me to launch this. And I thought in my head that if 3 people say that they want in for this class, then I'm going to go ahead with it. And if there's only 3, that's okay. And to be honest, I thought even if 3 people say yes, maybe only one's going to watch it live. And it's just going to be this really small thing. Y'all. As of the time of recording this, 17 people have paid for this class. 17! That is so much more than 3, okay? Even if, mental math isn't your strong point, that's 14 more people. That's a lot. I was blown away, and it's been so exciting because it's opened up so many great conversations about, why I was doing it and, oh, I can't believe you're talking about this, which has been great because it's, a huge part of why I am here and why I do this work and why I share so much on the internet is to shine light on things that we think should be hidden, things that we feel shame about. Because when we think things should be hidden, it's because we feel shame around them. And we're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. Or what's that going to mean about me or say about me? And I'm not here for that. I really want to start shining a light on those areas of shame and getting rid of them, because shame keeps us small. It keeps us hidden. It keeps us from living this big, fucking amazing, joyous life that I want us all to have. So my mission is to start to shed those layers. And it's not one big thing where you can be walk in and be all shame, be gone. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But it's layer by layer, piece by piece, you start to peel these back. So yes, this was like a super fun class, and like, it was pretty cheap. It's only 14 pounds, which is like $17. And it was like this fun class, but also it has this like bigger, more important meaning behind it. Where we can start to unravel and disentangle some of this shame and really like step into all parts of ourselves, the power that comes from being all fully us and not feeling like you have to hide that sexual part of you, or like you can enjoy blowjobs and be good at them, but like you better not talk about it. Like that's you can't possibly do that. And not that I'm saying I want all of us to talk about blowjobs all day, every day to everybody we meet. Like it's fine if you want to keep it like a sacred thing between you and your partner, and that's totally okay. But there's a difference between feeling like something has to be secret versus feeling like it's a sacred private thing. Those are very different feelings, and I want us to get to a place with all of this stuff where you can choose to have it be a sacred private thing, but not coming from a place of, oh, it has to be a secret because if it's not, then I'm gonna die. So that's kind of a big piece of where all this has come from this week. So like I said, so it's opened up amazing conversations that by having so many people sign up and so many people who have wanted to and asked for the link, we've talked about it, and then the conversations on the class. So on the night of the class, so it ran on Sunday night. Hello! So it ran live on Sunday night, and there were 9 people live. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is more than I have had live for any other event I have ever done. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. And it was amazing. And I was really, like, very happily surprised that there was, hello, my love. Oh gosh, there's loads of people coming on today. Hello, hello. So I was really happy to see that actually, like, several people had their cameras on, which is different than, hiding behind the screen. And then at the end, we had a Q&A session, and people were talking. Everybody was talking and asking questions and sharing stories. And it was just this incredible experience where we got to do this. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. But we got to have this conversation in community, and again, and there was like, so on the people who were on live, there was a range of some people who I knew were like, oh my gosh, like I cannot believe I'm doing this. I have signed up, but like, this is so out of my comfort zone. And then there were others who were like, yeah, I am already really good at this, and I'm just here to see if I can pick up some new pointers. So I already knew going in that there was a range of comfort zones here. But we ended up with such amazing conversations with people asking questions, chiming in, learning new things from each other. I learned some new stuff. Like somebody asked me a question and I was like, I don't know, I've never done that. I can't add an experience because I've never tried that. And then we had other people chiming in with their experiences instead. And it was just this beautiful thing that really helped everybody on the call shed some of that shame around it, including myself. And I was just buzzing from it. So afterwards, this gave me the confidence to, you know what? I think I'm going to take this a bit wider. And I actually posted it yesterday on my grid, on my Instagram grid, and on Facebook, where the whole world can see, including my mom and dad. And my sister immediately texted me like, you did a class on blowjobs? I was like, how are you? I literally posted that 5 seconds ago. How did you see it? And my dad was the very first person to comment on it, and he just said, TMI. But I didn't die. It was great. Look, I lived to tell the tale, which I think is what I said last week when I was like, oh my God, I posted this on my Instagram stories. And now I'm like, hey, I posted this like publicly for my entire world, my entire online world to see now. And I'm still here. I'm still excited about it. I'm still happy about it. And really feeling like it is so important to be able to talk about all of this. And when I say that this stuff, like I said, it's not like banish all shame all in one go. And as I said it, it's layer by layer, piece by piece. I can, this past week has shown you how I've been doing that personally. First, it started off with like, okay, I feel confident enough to share it in my Instagram stories. And then I shared it in a few private Facebook groups I'm in. And now I shed enough shame around it where I can share it publicly on my personal Facebook. And all of that comes from shedding that shame little by little and going, actually, it doesn't mean this about me. It doesn't mean that. But this happens in small steps. And that's why stuff like this is so very important and like world changing, honestly. I know it sounds dramatic, but it really is. Like, because the more that we can step into this empowered self of ours in all aspects of our life, like yes, sexually empowered, but in all aspects of our life, the more we really can start to believe in our own power, show up in our own power, and do these amazing things. And it's pretty awesome, to say the least. I feel like there was one other thing I was going to say about it. Hey, hang on, let me think. Yes, okay, I know there was one other thing, and then I will go on to the question part, and I won't go into this loads and loads because it's still fairly fresh, but another big thing that this week has brought up for me in doing this class is, like I said, like I was thinking maybe 3 people would sign up, and I'm at 17 right now. I want 20, by the way. If you are watching this and you want to watch the blowjob class, let me know. I'll send you the link because I want some more. I want to get to 20 now. But anyway, so this is like, it was so much bigger than I thought it was going to be, which sounds amazing, right? Like, oh my gosh, like these amazing things are coming true. And yesterday, it freaked me out. It rocked my nervous system. I was suddenly like, oh my God, this doesn't feel safe. Like it honestly, it took me back to what seems like a completely unrelated, like trauma memory in my past. And I was like, I feel the same way. Like, how is this linked? And although the two things aren't specifically linked, they had the same reaction on my body. So my body reacted as though this thing from my past was happening to me like right then and there. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had to really, really pull in all of my tools of like reminding myself I am safe. I was doing breathing exercises to like literally calm my system down, reminding myself I am not back in that scary moment at the time. I am sitting here, and actually I was at the cafe, like tears streaming down my face at the local cafe. But sometimes this happens. Like these things hit you out of nowhere sometimes, and that's why being able to handle them is so very important. And luckily I had my journal, and I was like, okay, let's do this. So I did my breathing exercises to calm my system down. I journaled over and over about how it was safe to feel like my desires were coming true. It was safe to hold this pleasure that was coming from from so many women in like getting into this class and all these conversations. Like this was a huge pocket of pleasure for me. Like I was riding this swell of pleasure. And it suddenly felt like that wasn't safe. It felt like, no, bad things happen when you're in your pleasure. Like, you can't. And I had to go, like, journal through. No, it is safe for me to feel this pleasure. It is safe for me to feel this. Bad things don't happen when I'm in pleasure. And I had to really work myself through that, as well as understanding that pleasure comes and goes. Like, it's, because I had this fear as well of, I had this fear as well of that if I make one wrong move, this could disappear. Like, the things are going really well right now as a result of this. And if I do something wrong, it's just going to like pop and disappear. And I had to work myself through, no, that's not how this works actually. Like I can't break this. It might like things come and go in waves. And that is how energy works. That is how pleasure works, is it all flows and moves. And if you do something and that pleasure feeling changes, that doesn't mean it's broken or that you'll never get it back or that it doesn't mean any of that. It just means that that's how pleasure and energy and flow works. But I really, really had to work myself through that yesterday because I was like in panic of like, I could mess this all up. Like it was going well, and if I break it, it's just gonna be gone forever. And like, please don't mess this up. So those tools were so handy. I journaled probably like 10 pages in a row. It just came flying out of me, saying I can trust myself. I can trust my pleasure. Like this is all okay. It's gonna be. You're safe. You're safe. Journaled through it, and then I needed to wrap myself up. I went back to my tools again of like pleasure, and I was like, I need to feel comfy and soft, and I came home and wrapped myself in the softest blanket. I needed food, because this was all me going in and going like, what do you need now, Lindsay? I needed food, so I came home and had cheesy scrambled eggs on toast, one of my favorite foods. And I watched a coaching video from my coach, Kimberly, and I let myself just like really sink into these feelings of pleasure around me, knowing that they were going to calm my system. They were going to bring me back to me. And sure enough, they did the job. And by the end of it, because after my big journaling session, I was no longer in like the panicked crying mode, but I was still feeling a bit shaky, when you've wiped all the tears off and there's no more coming, but like your face is still damp and you're like, I'm just like, oh, I'm okay, but not quite yet. So that's how I've been feeling after that. Then when I did these other things, came home, wrapped up in a blanket, ate, watched a coaching video. By the end, I was like, okay, now I truly, like, I feel safe again. I feel back to myself. And actually, like, look at all that I moved through as a result of that. And it was huge celebrations, like, enormous, that like, I could go through such big stuff, all in that pretty short space of time, as a result of all of these tools I've learned along the way. So, that was a lot. That was longer than my normal life portion of today, I think. So shall I move on to questions for you? I will do that. So the first one, thank you for listening to all of that, by the way. Hope it was interesting. So the first question I had was about kind of what's the main difference between like American men and women and English men and women? And it's a fairly broad question, but when I asked for a bit of clarity, it was about how like Americans are seen as stereotypically like a bit louder, more brash, and English people are seen as stereotypically more like reserved and uptight. And then the question was, what's my experience been like dating here when I am potentially a bit more like confident and loud than English women? And I thought it was a really good question, but also a bit difficult for me to answer because I have been here for so long now. Like, you know, I moved here as soon as I graduated from university, and so I've been in England like my entire adult life. But that said, you know, I go back home and visit a lot, and yes, I am obviously still very American. So yes, those stereotypes are generally true, I find. Now, obviously not all the time. There are plenty of like loud and outspoken Brits, and there are plenty of quieter, more reserved, uptight Americans. Like, this is by no means painting everybody with the same brush. But yes, overall, Brits tend to be a bit more reserved. Americans are a bit more like, hi, I'm in your face. You know, if you go to an American restaurant, the servers are like super over the top friendly, and sometimes they like sit down in your booth when they're taking your order, which I'm not a fan of that. You're not here to join our party. Please stand there and take my order. But so yes, there's definitely differences that way. But in terms of like how I found dating, and you know, if I'm potentially a bit more confident than English women, which is the question I was asked, I don't know. Because I haven't dated an American in 16 years. My ex and I got together about 16 years ago. So I haven't had an intimate relationship really with an American since then. Not entirely true. If you've watched my dating after divorce story, you know that there was like the very first, like my prequel to dating, after my divorce, I had essentially an online relationship with a man who I knew from high school, from university. So he was American, but it was, we dated just online on the internet. And he is actually more reserved. He is certainly more like not as forthcoming and not as open as, so he probably would fit more into the British stereotype in that sense, actually. But aside from that, it's been, I don't know, I'm not intimate with American men. And in terms of me being potentially more confident than English women, nobody's commented on that. So none of the men that I have dated have ever said like, oh my gosh, you're so different than the English women I date. Plenty of them have told me how much they love listening to my accent, which I find baffling and hilarious because I don't think I have a cool sounding accent or voice. I don't know, this is just how I sound. It doesn't seem exotic to me in the slightest, obviously, because our own voices never do. So people have definitely commented on my accent, but nobody has ever mentioned that, like, I come across differently because I'm American or English. So that probably doesn't answer the question. Well, I guess it does answer the question in that I don't really know. I honestly think that there are far, far more similarities than differences. When I first moved here, I thought that there was like a lot more differences than I had anticipated. And actually, the longer I've been here, the more I'm like, people are just people. People are people everywhere. And like I said, there's lots of quiet people in America. There's lots of loud people in England. But we all have, the same fears, the same vulnerabilities, the same wounds, the same trauma. I mean, we don't all have the exact same, obviously, but we all have the same pot of these things to choose from, and they're all applied to us in the same way. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from or where you grew up in a lot of senses. People are people, wherever you are around the world. And so actually, I don't think that there's tons of differences in that sense between my friends here and my friends back home. We're all just people trying to live our best life and be loved and love other people. And yeah, that's what it comes down to essentially. Okay, then my second question for today was, did I find that as I became a coach and as I'm, been on this journey and so by being a coach and by just being my truest, happiest, most authentic self as I go through all the stuff, have I found that friends have fallen away? Have my relationships changed as a result of me coming back into me more? And this is a really common fear as we get into this kind of work. And I'm going to be honest, it is also very real potential. So I am not going to sit here and be like, you know what, as you find all this light inside of you, and as you turn your light up, and as you start setting more boundaries, and as you start really listening to your needs and ditch the people-pleasing side and really coming back into you, not everybody around you is going to like that. That is going to piss some people off, ruffle some feathers. It can feel like if you turn, for other people, it can be like if your light is getting brighter and brighter, that just means that they're going to be living in your shadow, and that can change relationships. But what I would say is that is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? It can feel scary, I get it, and that fear of abandonment is really big, and it can be a thing that keeps us from pulling in these things that we really want, because that fear of success is like, if I get everything I desire, is everybody around me gonna leave? But no, because you're gonna find new people who match that level that you're at. You're gonna call in new relationships at that higher vibe, at that higher energy, people who respect your boundaries, people who set their own boundaries, people who don't want you to be a people pleaser, but want you to do the things that are best for you, and they're going to do that as well, and you will call in new relationships. So yes, it might ruffle some feathers, it might cause them to fall away, but you will replace those relationships. And does that mean that there won't be any sadness over some of that? No, there could still be sadness and there could still be grieving, and that's okay, because we are human. We are not heartless, cold stones where, relationships don't matter to us. If we were, then we wouldn't be doing this work in the first place. So yes, it might suck and it might be sad, but it's worth it, because unless you want to stay small and stay down at that level, to hang on to these icky, energy draining relationships. But if you want to keep going and be like, you know what, that doesn't feel good to me. Yes, I've got those people there who have always been there, but it doesn't feel that good. As opposed to yep, I'm willing to shed some of the stuff that it might take to shed to get to these places that feel better and better and better. And I trust that I will have new relationships, or those other old relationships could rise with you. It doesn't always, they might come with, it doesn't always sever relationships by any means. And not only might it cause other people to rise with you, but also you can find that sometimes there's relationships where they're not energy draining, sucky, icky, feeling relationships, but they might not rise with you, but also you find that you can still maintain that relationship, maybe with different boundaries than before or different dynamics, but it doesn't always mean that everybody falls away. So all of that was very not personal to my relationships, which is what you actually asked was, have I found that friends and relationships have fallen away in my life? But that's because my answer is no. So far, I feel like I'm pretty lucky, because I do fully expect that this could happen at some point, and I don't know who it is that will fall away or what it will look like or any of that stuff. But that is a fairly common occurrence as we do this growth, that what you need and expect from relationships with other people, it will change over time. But so far, I have been really lucky that none of my relationships that are close or intimate to me have fallen away or have had to be shed from my life yet. So yeah, my answer is no, not yet. And I would love to hold that as long as I can. I hope that I get to keep my favorite people in my life. I hope y'all stick around. But also, if it ever came to that, I know that where I am, the growth I am doing is always going to feel the best. And I'm not going to stop my growth for the sake of anybody else, because that's what I'm committed to. I'm committed to me doing my growth and doing what's best for me in all of this. And so, yeah, who knows? Who knows what the future will hold? But that's my answer so far. Your fear is real and valid, but also not, a guaranteed thing. And whatever happens, you'll be able to get through it. And I know that you know that. You asked the question. But I hope you all know that as well, that you are absolutely strong enough to withstand whatever happens as a result. So, my watch is broken, so I actually have no idea how long I've been talking for this week. But I feel like this has been a long one. I feel like I've talked a lot. So, I will start to wrap it up. To wrap up, what I will say is I've got slightly longer sales pitch this week because I've got my blowjob class. So if you haven't seen it, the link is on my last post. Hi! I'm just wrapping up, Catherine. But so the link is on my last post, or drop me a message and I will send you the link. Like I said, it's £14, which is like $17. Pretty cheap, but like super fun. It's an hour long. There's loads of like energetic stuff and mindset stuff and practical how-tos. Everybody who's watched it so far, so they've learned something from it, so you can still get that. I want to get up to 20. I am considering, I've been playing with some new options coming out as like on the back of this to do with sexual empowerment and again, shedding the shame around all of this. And I'm considering a group Voxer option, so let me know if you might be interested in something like that. So I'm playing with some stuff coming up, so keep your eyes peeled. Then, of course, there's the Divorcee, which is always available and so freaking good. So if you are watching this and you're like in anywhere of the like, I'm considering leaving my husband in my marriage and I'm not sure if this is right for me or not, I'm not going to give you the answer, but you can find tools to hear your own answers in the Divorcee Doubting Program. There's the divorcing program for when you're going anywhere through the mess. And there's the dating program, which is my favorite because it's really fun. So the dating program is up there too. All that's on my website. One-to-one coaching with me is always available. I would love, 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 love to dive into your world deeper with you and really start to unpack some of these personal layers of shame and really start to help you own your power and your pleasure and live this joyous life that you absolutely fucking love, because that is what it is all about. So if any of that is interesting to you, let me know. Send me a message. We can talk about options. Share this with anybody who you think would love to see it. Leave me messages in the comments if you want to continue the conversations. And I think that's it. I feel like I could do the like fine print on a radio of like the terms and conditions. So I'll take a deep breath. And I will say, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday or whatever day you watch this on. And I will be here again next week. So you can always look for the question box in my stories on Tuesdays if you have questions for me, or if something comes up anytime during the week, just send me a message and I will save it for next Wednesday's tea break. Okay, I love you lots. Have a wonderful day. Mwah.